all my crafty friends. I'm back with you for another card with Brass and Bliss. And guys, I'm so excited to be getting back into the florals. I know that we can do florals all year and everything, but honestly, I am such a seasonal type scrapbooker where I love to do Christmas. Well, I love to do Christmas all the time, but like winter cards during winter, Halloween cards during Halloween, you know, all that kind of stuff. So I don't much pull out the florals until I'm ready for the spring and summer, right? Well, here we are in February, or actually this week that I was doing these cards. We were getting some pretty warm weather here in Michigan. We're back under snow again, but we were getting some pretty warm weather. So I wanted to pull out the florals. And for me, I'm starting to prep, you know, for those cards that I'm going to need during the summer months where I'm not crafting as much. So these are perfect. We're going to use a few different ones. This die set came out a couple releases ago, and I got to use it in one card, but I wanted to swing back through and use it again and try and find different ways to use it except for just the end of cards, which is where I believe a lot of people used it during the release. So I ended up cutting it out and then chopping it down. And we are going to use that to cover some glitter teal paper that normally would be a little bit too bold for my taste here. But I love this color. It's super springy. And we're going to cover it with that half die cut, I think is what they kind of call them. Of course, I will link everything below. Definitely have a look at that. We are coming up on a new release for Brass and Bliss, and I'm getting so excited. We've been working with all the new things, and you guys, it's going to be a good one. So definitely check that out later in the month. All right, so we did have to glue that. If you aren't into gluing these little itty bitty things, always don't forget about your double-sided adhesive. That always works. I always forget about mine. So, but this one wasn't too bad to glue down. I did hold it down just a little bit there though, because I am gluing it down to that glitter. So it wanted to pop up a little bit, but ended up working out just fine. We are a little too big on the sides, so we cut that down a little bit. I love how this card came out. So it came together pretty quickly, even though I even had to color it. So we are using the Heliborn, I think is how you pronounce it. I hope that's how you pronounce it. Don't correct me. I'm really bad on pronunciation. And we're going to pull out our Ohuhu markers. That is what I have. Use what you have, whether it be Copics or Olos. But I do have the Ohuhus. And we are going to use our 23 for our darkest. Honestly, I'm not being too, what do I want to call that? Too precious with this. I'm kind of just bringing out that dark pink from the center. And then, whenever you are not quite sure about the picture and like what it is, sometimes when you get it down like in the stamp, it's like, oh, wait a minute, what is that? So I'm always pulling the original art from the packaging closer so that I can just check that. So I am not trying to pay attention a little bit to shadows with this one. The rest of markers I don't. I just put in my shadows with this one. So if there's petals that are underneath, those go, those are more shadowed. If there are, flowers that are underneath other flowers, those definitely get a shadow, like that top one over there. But otherwise, I really wasn't being too precious with this. I knew a lot of it was going to get covered up. So I just really wanted to get a good blend, pretty much. So we started with our, I think it was 23. We are now going to our 120 and just bringing that color out. I wanted to go from like a deeper pink to more of a light white on the tips. So we definitely go with a lot lighter color. Pinks are always hard for me with my Ohuhus. mainly because they come out a different color than what they dry back to, pretty much. I don't know, my ink has been just not loving my lighter colors. So I don't know what was happening there, but I just gave it a little bit of a heat. Set it with my heat gun a little bit there and went forward. Sometimes I'm like, did I stamp it with the right ink? Which very well could, happen. I'm sure everybody else, especially in these northern states that are getting pelted with snow right now, are just waiting for the beautiful colors to come back. Lastly, we are dropping down to a nice pale color of RV 130. This was a very good combination. It blended out quite well. I didn't have to work it very much at all. And I felt like it was a good color combination for this. I did look up color combinations. I think that that's a good way to start your cards, I think. I usually have like a big pin board in my Pinterest of a bunch of color combinations that I love. I also, when I'm not feeling like the most inspired, I will go to that one and try and pull out a color combination that I don't work with often and hope that more inspiration comes from that. All right, as for our green combinations, we have a GY43. I think it was let's see. I think it was a G270, G260, and I ended with GY7 is going to be this combination. I did speed this up just a little bit just because obviously coloring does take some time, especially with these little stems. You definitely have to be a little bit more precious so you don't go outside the lines with these ones. You can't just really slap down too much color. Looks like I had missed some pink right there. Here's your G270. So it must have been G270. Yeah, G260. Yep. Which those two weren't too much different, but different enough to get a good blend. This is where I definitely have to like watch the artwork and make sure that I'm not coloring things that I shouldn't be coloring, pretty much. So the GY43 was pretty much for my stems and then for the darker leaves in the back. And then I used the G270 for the like veins. And then the G260 is what you're going to see most, which is my mid-tone. And then we're going to finish it out with that GY7 just for like the tips of my leaves and that type of thing, just to give a good little variation, which I think this did a great job. This image is perfect for people that are just learning to color, as you can see, there's just not too much to color here, but definitely get you to step your toes in. We're going to die cut that in the magic of camera. We're done. I use these little label dies. I love using these for sentiments to anchor my sentiments. There we go. And we're going to be using a stamp from the same stamp set, which is very rare for me to do. Usually I'm using sentiments from a ton of other stamp sets. But I felt like this one matched, and it is a You're So Special, which I do believe that will, when I'm making cards ahead of time like this, I do try, and unless I'm making like specific birthday cards or sympathy cards or something like that, I will throw together a few cards that just have a little bit more generic, and then I'll leave the inside of the card empty, and I can put whatever the occasion is at that point. Gotta love that my masking tape stuck to my glass mat and tore my die right off of that. You'll also, if you follow me for a while, you know that I will cut that out a few times so that we can put a little dimension to that. And I think that it makes it pop off just perfectly. Oh, the glue had been open for quite some time. I had been crafting for a few hours. It's just day. Had to unclog it a little bit. Other than that, I did leave this last part in here because I couldn't decide if I liked a white background with this label, or if I did just cut that label out of vellum, because I didn't want all of my flowers covered up. So I did leave this in just to show you guys, like, honestly, even us card makers that do this a lot, we take a lot of time to make little decisions, honestly. So here, I thought that it started getting a little bit lost. Now that I see it on camera, it doesn't look as lost on camera, but in person at that time, and of course, sometimes when we're making multiple and multiple cards, you start seeing double of everything. So I did leave that in here. Like I said, I cut it out of the next, which is one reason I do love these dies, these little label dies, is because they're like little nested dies. And so I did cut that out of the white, as you're going to see there. And I don't think that I ended up liking it. I didn't like how much it covered up the flower. And I don't think that it made it any better, honestly. So if I would have waited and maybe stamped it on the white, maybe, but I decided to leave that out and go back to normal. All right, guys, thank you all so much for being here. Again, I listed everything in the description below if you are interested in anything. And don't forget to come back soon for Brass and Bliss's new release. Talk to you soon. Bye.